Hi there, my name is Cara Ostrin and I help women to overcome their vaginismus with the Cure Your Vaginismus and Thrive programme. It can be really difficult to understand exactly how the Thrive programme works because it's just not like anything else that's out there. So I'm delighted to introduce you to a video of an amazing lady called Louise who went through the programme with me about 6 months ago, where she talks about her experiences of having vaginismus and all about the Thrive programme, just to give you a better idea of exactly what's involved. I think the video is really helpful because you're hearing it from a real life person, and she talks incredibly honestly and eloquently about her experiences. So enjoy the video, and I hope that you'll find it interesting and inspiring. So I have Lou with me, and Lou went through the Cure Your Vaginismus and Thrive programme earlier this year, so about 8 months ago, and she has very, very kindly agreed to talk about her experience of having vaginismus, doing the programme, and now how she feels 7 months after finishing, or 6.5 months after finishing. So to begin with, Lou, can you just tell me a little bit about the vaginismus, how it affected you?
Yeah, of course. Well, thanks very much for asking me to do this. Honestly, it's a pleasure to
Oh,
share my
thank you so
experiences
much.
with everyone. Vaginismus affected me from the first time I had sex, basically. I can't really ever remember a time that it was pleasurable. So started around the age of 16, 17. I knew that something wasn't right. And yeah, it was a really, really, really difficult time for me. Really confusing time. I didn't know why it was happening to me. I would talk to my sisters about it, and when they were saying that they didn't have similar experiences, obviously that was hard to hear. Automatically thinking there was something wrong with me, so I went to the doctor, and they very quickly diagnosed the vaginismus. It wasn't like it took a long time for them to diagnose me, but there didn't seem to be a lot of help. They first sent me to a psychosexual counsellor for therapy, but for me at that young age, like 16, 17 years old, I still didn't really understand what was happening. I didn't want to accept that it was happening to me.
Right.
Um, so unfortunately wasn't very successful.
What did the sessions comprise of? I mean, did the sessions not educate you as to what was going on with the vaginismus?
Very, very vaguely, just talking about obviously muscles clenching up, which obviously then in turn, you know, causes the pain. And I really only remember getting to the stage of inserting a finger. So just felt like I had an unbelievable amount of progress to make on from there, from a finger to a penis, really. And I just thought, I was just like, no, this is never going to happen. I'm never going to be able to do it, pain free. So yeah, and I gave up on it, really. I think and I think my age was a huge factor in that. So this went on. It went on for years and years. It affected every relationship that I was in, because I didn't want to be touched, because in my mind it was going to lead to pain, and who wants pain?
Yeah.
And obviously other people didn't want to hurt me. So yeah, it was really difficult. And later on, so in the last few years or so, was when I noticed that there was like a small tear at the opening of my vagina, which I know was obviously then affecting the vaginismus. It went hand in hand, really, because I was like, well, there's something wrong with me. I'm tearing, and only a tiny, tiny tear. I saw numerous doctors, went to the hospital loads of times, tried loads of ointments and creams that of course never worked. And then finally they agreed to do the surgery to just remove that piece of skin that was obviously causing the problem. But yeah, it definitely didn't help the vaginismus.
Yes.
Definitely not, because you think that there's something wrong with you. So when there is something physical there that you can see, then of course it just
Yes.
like confirms it in your mind
Yeah.
that you're not normal and that it's always going to be that way, but it's not
Yes.
the case at all.
And Louise, do you think previously, when you first encountered the vaginismus, part of the pain was also caused by that physical problem, or do you think back then it was all psychological? Or is it difficult to know?
I would say in the early days, psychological.
Mm.
Definitely. I can't remember the physical issue being a problem.
Yeah.
I only really remember that, like I said, like a few years ago that started happening. I remember speaking to one of my sisters and saying, is this normal? Is this normal to happen? And they're looking at me like, no, that shouldn't be happening.
Mm.
And obviously in the end, I got the help that I needed. Sorry about that. Yeah, I got the help that I needed and had the surgery.
Yeah. Okay. And then what happened after the surgery?
So after the surgery, you had to wait about 6 weeks, I think it was, to try anything. But in that time, my partner at the time left. So yeah, it's difficult because I was like, well, I can't try and see if the surgery's worked. And I think for me, that's when I wanted to nip vaginismus in the bud once and for all,
Yeah.
because I knew that I had had the physical problem sorted out. So I needed to finally sort the psychological problem, because that was the only thing stopping me then. And I was on my own. I thought it was a good time where I could just spend all my time concentrating on me. And yeah, just a great time to be able to plow all my energy into sorting it out. So that's when I started looking online.
And what made you recognize that it was a psychological issue? Because for so many women with vaginismus, they do believe that it's something physical, which of course it is, but it's caused by your thinking and your emotions that end up resulting in your vaginal muscles tensing. And for so many women, they just don't see that what's going on behind the scenes to cause that physical response. So what is it for you that made you recognize that actually it was a psychological issue?
Researching, just the sheer amount of research that I did online made me realize that it was in my head. And I think because I've suffered in the past before with anxiety, it just made sense. It made complete sense that the way that I was thinking about the whole situation was, of course, going to have a negative impact. Because, yeah, if I'm telling myself it's going to hurt, then of course it's going to hurt. That goes, you know, that you could apply that to several things, you know, in life. So, yeah, it just made so much sense.
And actually interesting that you say that, because for so many women with vaginismus, they do tend to have other anxieties and other symptoms, other fears. So in the past, what other anxieties did you struggle with?
Change, I would say, was a huge thing for me. So anything big that changed in my life would cause me a huge amount of anxiety, where I didn't feel in control. Didn't feel in control of the situation, would always think the worst was going to happen. Changing jobs, going on holiday, just genuinely being out of my comfort zone, where I just wasn't around my normal surroundings, the normal people in my day-to-day life.
Yeah. Okay, so then going back to, you had the surgery, then you decided, right, I really want to sort this once and for all, and you found the Thrive program. What were your initial thoughts? Do you remember?
I remember looking into it, and I watched quite a lot of the videos. So the ladies that have been through it before, and I read a lot of the reviews, and it just made sense. And it just seemed simple. It wasn't complicated, didn't seem complicated. It just made complete sense, really. And I just thought, I have to try this. I hadn't found anything else like it. I looked at videos for Thrive, both for the vaginismus and then just other people that had been through it for a number of other things. And yeah, it just seemed straightforward and made complete sense. And I just thought I really have to try this. And I'll be honest, I gave it a lot of thought beforehand, because naturally that's just what I do. And yeah, I just wanted to go for it. Obviously, it was a lot of money to invest, but I just thought, you can't put a price on it, really. If it's going to sort, it was the one thing in my life that I would always think, this isn't right. It would impact me day to day negatively. So I was like, you honestly can't put a price on that, if you know. And I just thought, what's the worst that's going to happen if I try it?
Yes.
And I had already decided that I was just going to, give it 110%,
Right.
and make sure that it worked for me.
Yes. Okay. And what did you like most about the program?
For me, just I learned so much about myself, like a crazy amount about myself. And it was simple things. I was like, I know that I was a certain way, but I didn't know that it obviously like had a name, and this is why I am that way. So the amount of work I could do on myself throughout the program. Obviously, every week there was work to do, homework to do. So I really liked that, because you were like accountable, really. So every week, like, I knew I'd be meeting with you again, so I knew that I had to do the homework and apply what I'd learned from the session before. All of the videos that were provided were great. So yeah, it was just very interactive, and always something to be working on. So I love that. And how quickly I was changing, unbelievable. Like, I literally couldn't believe it, talking to you week on week, making progress. Not just psychologically, but the physical side of things were just improving really, really quickly. One of the highlights for me was the self-esteem task and the processing your positives every day. It just blew my mind how quickly you can improve your self-esteem. So I still use that now if I feel like I need it, and I've told so many people about it. And at first people are skeptical, and then they think, actually, yeah, that does really make sense. So for me, I love that.
Yes. Yeah. And so for anybody who doesn't know, the way that the Thrive program works is that before somebody begins the program, before their first session, they go online, do our online assessments that measure so many different components of your beliefs and your thinking. So things like where your self-esteem is, how good you feel about yourself, how in control you feel of life in general, of your body. Things like unhelpful thinking styles, like how catastrophic are you, how much do you imagine the worst, how much of an overthinker are you. And Lou, I've got your before and after scores, just to tell people that they're a hugely significant difference in them. So before the program, your sense of power and control, so how powerful you feel, was 57%, which was actually, pretty good. But afterwards, it went up to a massive 93%. And clearly that's somebody who feels very powerful, feels very in control. So that went up as a total 61%. Your coping skills, how much you believe you can cope with life, cope with challenges, went up 60%. Your self-esteem went up 62.5%. Don't forget the half. Your social confidence went up 55%. And with regards to different thinking styles, your catastrophic thinking reduced by 47%. So you just weren't thinking those real negative, worst case scenario thoughts. And your obsessive thinking, how much you obsess and go over things in your mind, started off at a very high 80% and reduced to a very, very respectable 23%. Okay, so a huge difference between your before and after scores, which is amazing, and credit to you for the amount of work that you put in.
Yeah, So yeah, you couldn't ask for, I honestly couldn't have asked for more.
Yeah.
Couldn't ask for more. And it was unbelievable how many people made comments afterwards. And my sisters and a couple of close friends knew that I was going through the program, but I didn't tell my mum. And it wasn't too long ago that she said to me, I don't know what it is, Lou, but you're a completely different person these days. Like, I've noticed a real change in you. And for me, like, yeah, to me, that was huge, because I was like, she didn't know that I'd gone through it. So yeah, lots of people have noticed.
And massive credit to you, just the very fact that you are happy to record this video and talk about your experiences about something, you know, that is incredibly personal, because for so many women with vaginismus, it's a big secret that they would be mortified if any of their family or their friends knew. So that's,
but I just think for me, I went years and years and years of going through it. And I just think if I can help just one person, then I've succeeded, basically, because I know what it feels like to go through it, and how just isolated and stuff you feel from everyone, really. Even in friendship groups, when they're talking about their sexual experiences, you just feel like you can't really be involved in that conversation because you don't have the same experiences as them. So yeah, if I can help just one person, then I'll just be extremely happy.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you so much. So in terms of how you feel now, so you are currently single, and you were single when you went through the program with me. How do you feel about being in a relationship and being in a sexual relationship in the future?
It doesn't even really cross my mind. It's just exciting more than anything. I'm in no rush to jump into another relationship. I think being single now for a couple of years has been the best thing I've ever done for me. It's allowed me to concentrate on myself. It's allowed me to, I've fully committed to the Thrive program, which I maybe wouldn't have done, if I hadn't just taken that decision just to really focus on me. It came at a good time for me. But yeah, I'm not against meeting someone or being in a relationship, whereas maybe before the program, I would have been thinking, well, I don't even want to, if I meet someone, that then in my mind, I'm, that's going to lead to sex, and I'm going to be, useless, it's not going to work. Whereas now those kind of things don't even cross my mind, and I'm just really excited really about who I might meet in the future.
Yeah, which is fantastic. And what would you say to anyone watching this, any woman with vaginismus who's watching this thinking, yeah, but that was her experience. My experience is different. My vaginismus is far more complicated, or it's much more deep rooted. What would you say to somebody who was having those kind of thoughts?
Just to give it a go. Honestly, I know I can only speak from my experience, but the outcome will be the same if they go through the program like I did and put in all the work. So yeah, I would just say that they really should give it a go, because it will, I know it's easy for me to say because I've been through it and to say it's changed my life, but it really has. Not just I haven't just overcome the vaginismus, I've gained so much more from it. And who wouldn't want to do that? You've got nothing to lose, absolutely nothing to lose.
Yes, that's fantastic. Thank you so much for doing this, Lou. Very, very much appreciated that you've been so open and so honest about your experiences.
You're welcome.
Thank you.